So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover that day's newspaper in a very short span of time. Now today we are going to cover July 13th, 2024's newspaper in a short span of time within 20 minutes. So let's straight away jump to the topics that featured in Saturday, July 13th newspaper. The important topics that are very important for your UPSC preparation. Now, there were only three topics that were of extreme importance for us, and we'll study only these three topics. First of all, Niti AOG. Niti AOG actually released its SDG India Index. So we'll talk about that, SDG India Index. Okay. And then we'll talk about antitrust investigation against Apple. So there is this antitrust body or antitrust organization called Competition Commission of India. It is actually leading an investigation against Apple. The charges against Apple are that Apple is using its dominant market position to exploit small players, small app developers. All right. So what is antitrust? What is CCI, Competition Commission of India? We'll talk about everything. Okay. And in the end, we'll talk about NASA's CHAPEA project. What is CHAPEA project? CHAPEA project. And how will it be helpful to put boots on Mars, astronauts on Mars? Okay, so we'll talk about all these three topics. Now, without further ado, without further delay, let's start with topic number one, which is SDG India Index. Now, recently, Niti AOG came out with SDG India Index 2023-24. Now, what is SDG India Index? Basically, in 2015, United Nations General Assembly adopted 17 goals, which were called Sustainable Development Goals. Now, all the countries had to achieve these 17 goals by 2030. Okay, these goals are related to sustainable development, so zero hunger, zero poverty, climate change, fight against climate change, and all that stuff. Okay, so these 17 goals have to be achieved by 2030. Now, India also wants to achieve these 17 goals by 2030. Now, India's premier research organization called Niti AOG actually wanted to see how are states doing with respect to these sustainable development goals. So, Niti AOG came out with SDG India Index. In this index, a score is given to every state. That score is between 0 to 100. And on the basis of their score, states are given ranks. They are allocated or allotted ranks. The better your rank, the more closer you are to achieving these sustainable development goals. Okay. So 2023-24 data has come out and Uttarakhand and Kerala have topped the index, whereas Bihar is at the bottom. Okay. Niti AYOG's SDG India Index assesses sustainable development across states on the basis of UN's Sustainable Development Goals. I've told you what these Sustainable Development Goals are, 17 goals. Okay. Now let's talk a bit more about this index. Okay. Now in this index, Niti AYOG actually evaluates the states on 16 goals, not all 17 goals, 16 out of these 17 goals. Okay. And a score is given to them between 1 to 100. Now, all these 60 states are given a score between 1 to 100. And for these 16 goals, to capture data regarding these 16 goals, there are 113 indicators. So remember this fact. To capture information for all these 16 goals, there are 113 indicators. Now, states are given a score between 1 to 100. Okay. And on the basis of their score, they are allocated one of the four categories. Okay. So, categorization of states as per their score. So, if a state scores between 0 to 49, it's called an aspirant state. 50 to 64, performer state. 65 to 99, front runner state. And if a state has achieved perfect 100 score, then that means it has achieved all the sustainable development goals. Then it will be called an achiever state. All right. Now, what were the key findings of the latest index report? The key findings are, first of all, Uttarakhand topped, Kerala topped, Bihar last, Jharkhand second last. Okay. Overall, if you talk about all the states, overall for the entire country, India's score has also improved to 71 points from 66 points. All right. Kerala and Uttarakhand topped, Bihar and Jharkhand were the laggards. And compared to 2020-21, the last index was released in 2020-21. The best growth has been shown by Punjab, Manipur, West Bengal, and Assam. All right, that's about it. Okay, let's move on to second topic, which is antitrust investigation against Apple. So first of all, let's see what was in the news. Okay, an investigation by India's antitrust body has found that Apple exploited its dominant position in the market for app stores on its iOS operating system, Apple's operating system, engaging in abusive conduct and practices. Now, first of all, you need to know what an antitrust body is. Look, every country has antitrust laws. Antitrust laws actually prevent monopolization. It prevents monopolization in the market and promotes competition in the market. So these antitrust laws actually ensure that no big company monopolizes the market, exploits its dominant position in the market, and exploits against the smaller players. So one company shouldn't be that big that it can exploit all the smaller players. There should be free and fair competition. Okay, these are antitrust laws, and the organization that implements these antitrust laws is known as the antitrust body. Now, India's antitrust body is Competition Commission of India. Okay, and it has been conducting investigation against Apple since 2021. Again, the charges against Apple are that it is using its dominant position because Apple owns the App Store, iPhone apps, right? Apple owns the App Store, so any type of app that wants to feature itself on the App Store, well, it has to comply by Apple's norms, right? And sometimes Apple misuses or exploits these norms to extract certain benefits out of these applications. Okay, so this is what CCI charges are, or CCI is alleging against Apple. Okay, now what is antitrust? I have explained it to you, but let's see the formal definition. Antitrust laws are regulations that encourage competition by limiting the market power of any particular firm. These laws prevent mergers and acquisitions which create monopolies, abuse of dominant position in the market. I have explained to you. Okay, in India, the antitrust law in India is Competition Act 2002. Under Competition Act 2002 is there a body was formed called Competition Commission of India. Okay, so Competition Commission of India is the antitrust body. Competition Act is the antitrust law. Let's talk a bit more about Competition Commission of India. Okay, first of all, it is a statutory body established in 2003 under Competition Act. Now, Competition Commission of India will give decisions against any company. If that company wants to appeal against that decision, well, it can appeal against Competition Appellate Tribunal. This is also formed under Competition Act. So if a company is not happy with the decision of CCI, they want to appeal against its decision, they can appeal in Compat. Okay. Now this was this case till 2017, but in 2017, government replaced Compat with National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, NCLAT, which actually hears cases related to bankruptcy. They also is related to competition or antitrust. Okay, that's about it. And our last news item is NASA's path-breaking CHAPEA project. Now, what is this CHAPEA project? Basically, its full form is Crew Health and Performance Exploration Analog Project. Okay, and what does that mean? Look, sometime in future, NASA is going to put astronauts on Moon. All right, it's also going to put astronauts on Mars. So for that, NASA has to train its astronauts so as to survive on Mars and Moon, right? Plus, NASA also wants to know what would be the impact of Mars's atmosphere, Mars's environment on astronauts' health, physical, mental health, and all that stuff. So they actually want to study the impact of Mars's environment on humans. Okay, so for that, what NASA did was NASA created an artificial Mars-like environment. Okay, near Johnson Space Center, Houston, Texas. It created an artificial Mars-like environment in 1700 square feet of space, 3D printed Mars-like environment, and it was named as Mars Dune Alpha. Then it selected 4 volunteers and sent them to this Mars Dune Alpha and told them to live there for 1 year. So these astronauts lived in Mars-like environment for 1 year, and on the basis of the data generated by these people, NASA is going to study the impact of Mars's environment on astronauts. These guys entered on June 25, 2023 and emerged 378 days later. All right. Now, what is the aim of the mission? Basically, the aim is to understand potential impact of long-duration missions to Mars on crew health and performance. So this was prime aim number 1. It also wants to understand and counter the physical and mental challenges astronauts will face on Mars. So basically, astronauts need to be prepared for everything when they go to Mars. Okay. Now, how to prepare them? First of all, NASA also wants to know what would happen to them. So for that, there was this mission. It also will help NASA prepare for long-term presence on Moon as part of its Artemis program. Now, NASA's Artemis program is to put astronauts on Moon, all right, and use Moon as a base for a future launch of a space mission to Mars, right? So this is what Artemis program is. So NASA also wants to prepare for this. All right. And with that, we come to an end of this lecture. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Now, as far as the notes of this lecture are concerned, I have prepared detailed notes for this lecture, this current affairs lecture, and put them in a PDF file. Now, that PDF file will be shared on our Telegram channel. The link to this Telegram channel is given in the comment section below. So, comment section of this video, you will find a link to our Telegram channel, and on that Telegram channel, you will find the notes for this particular lecture, current affairs lecture. Now, in that lecture, I've also mentioned one more topic. In those notes, I mentioned one more topic. You see, we have ended the topic related to Mars here only, but in the notes, I've also mentioned some basic facts regarding Mars. Okay, so that is mentioned in notes. So be sure to check those notes out. Okay. If you want to read the entire current affairs, check these notes out. Plus, I've shared some extra information regarding Mars. Check that out too. All right. And on that note, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it is adding value to your preparation, though it would add more value if you are consistent, regular with this lecture series. All right. Okay. I'll be signing off. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'll see you next time with another day's newspaper.